breakfast is ready.
Okay,
come on, Harold.
coming.
You'll be late for school if you don't come up quickly.
Well, we get up in the morning about 7 o'clock and my mother would say, well, Harold, go and get some wood. Fill the wood box up. You've got to get that done, and then you come and have your breakfast. And then you get ready to go to school. And I had two sisters that are older than me, and they'd boss you around a little bit. And we'd get ready and go to school, and we had to walk 3 miles to school. There was people or children coming in about 5 miles. They used to come the same track, and we'd wait for them. And then we'd get in a bit of trouble. They were a bit late, and we'd be late too. We used a slate, Slaton's pencil, and if you made a mistake, you'd always rub it out those days and start again. Nearly all the morning it was reading, writing, and arithmetic. And our school at that time, there was about 30 going to the school, and there was always in one big room.
Yeah, I seem to have quite a busy day. A lot of it is done as a matter of routine. Chores such as cleaning up the breakfast things and cleaning through the house, making beds and such like. Well, they come every day, of course. But then I have things during the week. Monday, of course, is washing day. And that is quite a big job. It usually takes all day because by the time you get your coppers lit, that's with a fire under the copper and the water boiling, and put everything through those tubs and rinse it. Although there are ringers coming into fashion now, they're becoming available and they're very popular. And then Tuesday, of course, brings the ironing, Wednesday, mending and such like. There's quite a lot of chores. Thursday is usually a day for, well, if I want to do any visiting or go shopping, I often do that on Thursday.
Oh, hello, May. You can't see me. How are you?
Oh, to ask you, May, you have one of those new ringers, don't you? How do you find it?
Oh, well, they're time saver, and, you know, they are really good.
Well, quite often of an afternoon we do have a little time to spare, and we'll go into our little workroom, used mainly for sewing and crafts of this kind. Doreen likes lace making. I find spinning very relaxing.
Yes, they say
Nice
it is.
of an evening,
Yeah.
you know, after you've had a busy day. Those who came from the country, the people who came from the country to the town for a specific purpose would probably either be on horseback or in a jinker or a buggy.
Some horses are easy to break in, and others are very hard, and some are vicious, and others are quite tame. And you get attached to your horses. It's like people, you like some better than the others. But they were very faithful animals. There was no tractors even thought of those days, and everybody had horses, and that meant you had to cut hay for them, cut chaff, trim the horses' hoofs, and there was always work with horses. And you had to get the horses in the morning, feed them, groom them, put the collars and hames on, and then you go for breakfast, then you come back and put the winkers on, take them out and yoke them up in the plough or skerry-fire, whatever you're using, and then up to 12 o'clock, and you bring them in again then, give them an hour and a half feed, and then go out again and keep on ploughing. And those days it took you about 6 weeks to do your ploughing, where today they can do it in about 3 days. That's the difference between the horses and the modern tractor. Take about 6 weeks to do the fallowing with a 5-furrow plough, whereas today with a tractor you do it in about 3 or 4 days with wide implements, and it's entirely different. The scythe and the sickle was long before my time, but we never used them. We had a binder, a reaper and binder, like cutting hay, a stripper for stripping wheat, and then you had to clean it with a treader winnower or a hand winnower, mostly the hand winnower. And but it was all primitive those days to what it is today. When I was a boy, we used a stripper, 3 horses in a stripper, and then we got 5 horses in one of the first harvesters when they come in. And of course that, you didn't have to clean it then. And it was all in bags, and the bags had to be sewn, carted away in a wagon to the station, and it took 1 trip a day. They used to cart the wheat right from, well, Lorcan, where my father's farm was. That was 14 miles from Jeparit, and they'd cart the wheat with horses all the way to Jeparit, 1 load a day, and they'd start 4 o'clock in the morning. That's the difference of what it is today with the trucks. On the farm we'd have, well, my father and a man, and when they loaded the wagon, when I was a little boy, you have to lead the horse in a bag loader. You know, you pull them up and then you back the horse again and keep going until you got the load full.
Well, I'm a general blacksmith, and generally I do not just only shoon horses, but I'm a wheelwright, wagon builder and carriage builder, and I repair most implements and machinery, and I build new scarifiers and that type of cultivating implements. I suppose progress must take its place in all facets of life, and I feel that the horse, who has been our mainstay and transportation over the centuries, will now be more or less extinct in a matter of years, and it's a great pity, and I'm very disappointed.
Just like this.
So knock these off first.
The passing from horses to tractors and motor transport has forced me to expand skills and explore new fields. This entails quite a big change and a transition in my life, and will mean that the general blacksmith will probably be called an general agricultural engineer.
On the other side, mate. Now, just hold. Hold against every face. Keep going. Put the water, you two. Put the water on. That's it. Pour it on and make it straight. Round and round.
In the first tractors that come out, they always had a team of horses with them. If a tractor broke down, you could go over to the team of horses. But later on, when the tractors got better, I was one of those careful sort of fellas, and I got the tractor, and the tractor was 100%. It was far easier farming, and, well, you made more money too. When I bought my tractor, I sold me hay and me horses for the price of the tractor. So you didn't have to lay money out, really. You got money for the horses and for the hay. Well, there's many advantages with the tractor. When the tractor come in and the trucks come in, well, it lightened the burden, and you could do with less labour, and it went quicker. It was hard work with horses. You had to feed them and clean out the stable and clip them, and there was always work with horses, cutting chaff. And with the tractors, well, all that work was put aside then. You didn't have to do that work, in other words. You had more leisure time. I remember a paddock with 10 horses and a 5 for a plough. You go round and round for a couple of days, you could hardly see where you've been. And when the tractor come in, you could do that same work in about a quarter of the time. When the tractor come in, definitely some of the fellas had to look for a job somewhere else. It took 2 men to do about 800 acres, and when the tractor come in, 1 man could do it quite easily. In fact, he had to get some more land to keep his tractor occupied. Then the farms were all small, and the people were living more closer together. Today you'll see a lot of empty farms where the big tractors have taken over, and it was either get big or get out. Then you had a lot of land to clear, stumps to pick, that is in the mallee, and there was more work those days, and you couldn't have so much land. There are a lot of empty houses, a lot of farms that are empty now that were occupied years ago. Well, you'll see every second one farm that's empty now. The neighbours bought them out, and they've got to have more land. They can do more work with the modern technology they got today. And that means there's less farmers and less population in the country, and they all got to go to the city and look for a job. When they had the horses, everybody was occupied. But then afterwards, when the tractors come in, it's like all the technology today, it causes unemployment. Well, nobody'd like to go back to the old style again. It's easier, the work is easier, and quicker. It's speeded up the whole process.
See, with a team of horses, you had to feed them and groom them even when you wasn't working them. This, you just stop and that's it.
No, I don't think I would like to live in the days of the horses. Maybe because I'm a little bit of a lazy person, and it is nice to get into a car and switch it on. And
Little country towns are dying because they can get to the bigger centres. They're like for shopping and things like that. And as I said, the rural population's declining.
Well, for everything is more fastly driven, power takeoffs, hydraulics, no manual work. It's all press button machinery. And actually there's no labour involved at all to what it was years and years ago.
The major, perhaps, improvement that new technology has brought has been that we're able to cover the ground much more quickly, enabling us to do the things as should be done at the right time. Of course, our harvest is now taken off in 3 weeks instead of 3 months.
Well, it used to be a lot of fun with horses. And, oh, well, we went out and made our own fun in all the areas, no matter where you went. It was, well, no entertainment was like it is today. It was all different. You made your own entertainment and everybody got by and everybody was happy.
Oh, no. You couldn't compare horses with the modern methods today, I wouldn't think.
Today it's a lot easier than what it used to be. When I was young, you'd have to get up in the morning early and feed your horses and groom them, and you couldn't do many acres. But today you haven't got to feed the tractor, and you can do a lot more in a lot less time.
Technology today is much better than the old days, especially in the early times because, well, it took so long to do everything. Nowadays you can get out in the land and you get over it much quicker these days.
Well, I wouldn't go back to the old days for anything. It was too hard to work. You had a lot more leisure now, and don't we all like a bit of leisure?